Morning? Afternoon? What time is it? Good morning, everyone.
We're still there.
For 10 more minutes. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Dreamcatchers. We are here today for a special episode of What's the Matter, which we haven't done in a while because we were kind of trying to figure out what we felt about this particular guest and this particular topic. And we really feel like it's a matter that we want to discuss, not just a word. So welcome back to the Dreamcatchers for What's the Matter. We're going to talk about positive mindset today, which I think is very poignant for everyone, but in particular in regards to children. So welcome. I'm Jamie, my sister Marissa.
Hi.
We've been busy. This is our third episode in a few weeks, which we hadn't done 3 in a row like this in a long time. So thanks for listening. We're live here today at a Shared Universe at Bellworks. Thank you so much to Bellworks and Shared Universe for having us today. And welcome to Deanna, who we're going to introduce in a second to, actually, I'm going to have you introduce yourself.
Sure.
We're also on LinkedIn today and Facebook today. So you see me looking down, I'm just sharing across all platforms. So go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience.
Lovely. So I'm so happy to be here. My name is Deanna, Blasi, DeAndino, and I am the founder and owner of the Mindset Tapestry.
So tell us about the Mindset Tapestry. Just a quickie overview because we're going to unpack it. But tell us what that is.
So we are first of its kind self-affirming mirror talk for kids.
Wow.
Self-affirming mirror talk for kids.
It's different.
Wait, you can show the box.
So I just was opening. I was just opening the box, the kit.
By the way, those are fresh. Those came in last night from the manufacturer.
Love
They're
it.
freshies.
Fresh manufactured tapestries.
Inside the box, which is absolutely adorable, it says, at the end of 30 days, your child will have 30 affirmations or positive beliefs posted around the mirror as they look at themselves. This will build character and foster a love for themselves, build their self-esteem, and give them the power to take on their little lives with confidence. All the while, they will know you were and always will be right next to them, supporting their unique individual person with a deep love and respect for who they are, your child. So the kind of couple days I've been having, I might need to Velcro these right to my head.
Correct.
How do you feel about
Same.
that?
Velcro where you need them.
You know, I'm probably a bunch of years older than you, but there's a tongue-in-cheek memory that this is bringing for me, which was based on probably science and fact, because I was too young at the time to understand it. But there was a famous SNL skit for many years.
I've been told about this.
Yes. So it was like I can't think of his name now.
I have to Google it.
My brother-in-law would know his name off the top of his head. But there was a famous SNL skit when I was growing up where you would look in the mirror and you would say something. What was it, Jamie?
Positive affirmation.
Yeah, it was positive
I
affirmations.
literally don't know.
You don't know this?
No.
I'll look it up. Oh, I can't because my phone's over there. I'll look it up. But
Trying to tag you on
it was it's like I like you, but it was
Yeah.
it was an SNL point
I'll
of view.
look it
I've
up.
never seen it.
If you're
but
listening,
someone-
comment if you know. Wait, hold
Someone
on.
just told me
SNL
about
positive
this.
affirmation. Here it is. Comes right up.
Is it Bill Hader?
No, this is before
Wait,
him.
Michael Jordan? Oh, this must have been when Michael Jordan was a...
Like we're talking when I was a
think
kid.
They might have been mocking
They were
positive
no, of course. It must have been a thing.
Which
It must have been
is
would have been when
telling
it started.
of the time.
Exactly.
Yes, I see it here. What was his name?
He had like a gray hair.
Okay, so first of all, the name of the character is Stuart Smalley, which I totally remember.
Totally.
And it was performed by Al Franken.
Yes.
Shout out to SNL, which we still
Was it
watch
the 80s
religiously.
or
Yeah.
the early 90s?
80s and early 90s. Oh no, early 90s, 1991.
Yeah. So I was in 8th grade. That's
oh my
why
God.
I wouldn't even realize why that was funny.
Right, and it's actually funny that they had that on SNL because were people doing positive affirmations then?
I guess so.
I guess so.
Maybe
I
it
guess
was starting.
I really think it was like a woo-woo thing. Like I
Totally.
think people weren't taking it seriously.
No
the
one
way
thought
that we do now.
woo woo. 1991. The definition of woo woo would have been Stuart Smalley or Whoopi Goldberg and Ghost.
Correct.
And it's very generational. Yes,
Yep.
I would have been laughed at for sure.
That's okay. Me too.
Trying to find you on Facebook and I'm having trouble. My young friend to the left just told me she just joined Facebook, which is hilarious.
Well, I had it in my college days. Since
Yeah.
deleted. And now that I have a business, I feel like maybe I should. But
Yes,
it's
we
a
gotta
lot
get
of-
you. We gotta get you
it's a lot of
tagged.
social media.
There's a lot of Deanna, DeAndinos, and I don't
It
know
might
which
just
one.
be the Mindset Tapestry.
All right, so let me try.
Is a
Anyway,
business page, I don't know.
So tell us a little bit. Obviously, this is what
You
you're
say
doing
her
now.
name well.
Well, thanks.
Say it again.
Deanna DeAndino.
Yeah.
I wasn't born with that name, by the way.
But it goes well.
It does. It actually does. It's
That's
a
why
little
I keep
tongue
my
twistery.
maiden name. I made it my middle name.
Say
so I
your
didn't
full name
have
for me.
one. Deanna, Blasi, DeAndino.
Okay.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. I married.
You're Irish, right?
Yeah, right.
Scottish, actually.
When I married Dave and took on a name that has an S, a Z, and a T as the first three letters, I remember being like, what am I literally went from Klein to Stozer, which I like the way Stozer sounds, but it's every single day of my life. S is in Sam, Z is in Zebra,
Yeah,
T is in Tom. And everyone's like,
difficult.
there's a T there? I'm like, correct.
I tried to convince my husband to just take Blasi,
Yeah.
but he wouldn't have it.
All right, well, it sounds good.
Both of them are great. I like a long, strong Italian name.
Yeah, same. All right, so we digress. Let's back up a little bit. Our first question is always the same, and we love this to kind of correlate what this answer is and what you're doing now. Marissa's really good at that. What did you want to be when you grew up? Because I'm guessing it wasn't creating positive mindset tapestries for children.
No, it was a fashion designer.
Isn't that funny? Isn't that
I
funny?
love that. I don't know the last time we asked someone that and they said that.
I actually went to Marist College for fashion.
Oh, you did?
Oh, we love Maris for fashion.
So,
They have
fun
an
fact.
amazing program.
Fun fact. Hi,
Yes.
Cassie.
Oh, yeah, Cassie.
Jamie and I have gone to Marist 2 times, maybe 3. Someone from our team we've gone, our old team, we went at least twice, if not 3 times, to speak to the fashion department.
Because one of our girls
Yeah,
that
you
worked
guys
for
were in the
us.
fashion industry.
Correct.
Yes.
We were fashion media recruiters, mostly fashion. And one of the girls that worked for us for many years, Cassie Conlon, who I just tagged, hopefully she sees that, she went to Marist.
I
And
wonder what year she graduated.
she was 2014, maybe,
Okay.
15. And she was a huge, obsessed with Marist, red boxes, go yay.
It's an amazing school.
And amazing school, close to the city, can still kind of do some of those internships. So shout out to Marist because that was one of our biggest
It was a lot of fun for us.
pools when we were at that stage, pulling in people that graduated Marist, great fashion program. Okay, so you went
Yes.
to school for fashion. Did you?
and PR.
So you wanted to be a fashion designer and then you went to school for it.
Well,
So is that your earliest memory of what you wanted
like,
to be
as
when you were
a
little?
child, I wanted to be a fashion designer. I would make my own purses. I mean, I would like hot glue them. I didn't know how to sew. Like
Yeah.
I was just like super creative. I love clothes. My mom definitely instilled that in me. Then I went to Marist and I was like, I think I took some drawing classes in Fairhaven, actually. I remember my mom putting me in that when I was in high school. And I remember being like, I don't know if I want to do this exactly. I'll go to school for fashion merchandising.
Yeah.
Like that
Thinking the
whole
business of
visual
fashion.
aspect of it and like merchandising, that seemed exciting to me.
Oh, so you're local. You're from
Yeah,
here.
I grew up in Middletown and Homedale.
Got it.
So yeah, and then I went to Marist for PR and fashion merchandising, and I did all the internships. I studied abroad in London. I interned there at a fashion PR agency, and then I went to New York City to get my first job, and that's when I was like, oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, welcome to the
I
party.
don't know if foundationally I am aligned with this culture. But I love the creative
Yeah.
aspect of it.
I do think it's a separation of, for lack of a better way of putting it, church and state, right? So, like, what did we talk? I should have known. I sat down. The first 3 words we said to each other is, "You liked this bow,"
Yes.
right? And for me, I have loved clothes my entire
That's
life.
what I remember of people. I
Yes.
won't remember their name, but I'll remember exactly
What
everything
they wore,
they're wearing.
or how they put something together, or how
Yes.
they present themselves. To me, it was always art, and that came from my mother and my grandmother also. And I've always loved clothes, but the business itself is not for the faint of heart,
No.
for sure.
And we talk about this all the time because as fashion media recruiters and now career coaches, when you move to New York City, the big bad city, even if we're from so close by, which we were as well, North Jersey, there's only like 3 major avenues to go in New York City-ish.
Yeah.
You go into the entertainment or the media space, you go into the fashion space, or you're in finance.
Yeah.
And then there's people that are kind of dabbling in between, of course, and
like a tech person
Yeah,
or a lawyer.
but they're also
Yeah.
potentially part of those 3 major industries in some capacity. And so so many of us, myself included, you know, I wanted to do music PR. Then I tripped into beauty. So I was in kind of beauty and fashion. She started in fashion. You started in fashion. It's like 100% of this table did something in that area and then kind of figured it out from there. And one of the things we're super passionate about is trying to intersect, you know, in college and right out of college so that some of these folks can make the choice that you made later on earlier.
I'd be more purpose.
Yeah, purpose driven.
Right, purpose
Because
driven.
I think we all are like obsessive with like this glamorous lifestyle of working in fashion, and then you start and you're like, whoa.
And also, I think it's
Like, this is not what I thought it was going to be.
I think it's also like where we grew up.
Yeah.
And like I grew up, my dad commuted to the city every single day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Everyone I knew, that's what their dads
That's what
did.
you did.
Not necessarily their moms at the time, but that's what their dads did. And I knew our generation was going to be different. I was going to be a working mom.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just going to go to the city. Like,
Yep.
That's what you do.
That's what I do. And I'm not a finance person. I
Nope.
can barely do math. So that wasn't going to be my route.
Right.
I'm not like my dad in that sense, but I'm so hardworking.
Yeah.
Like, and I want to succeed. So I'm creative. I'll go into fashion.
Yep.
Yeah, and you were always interested in it. So that's so interesting. Okay. So what was your first job? Like, not just right out of school. Like, what was the first thing you ever did for a paycheck?
Eckerd in Lincroft.
Oh my gosh.
Eckerd.
Wait, there was an Eckerd in Lincroft?
It's what the Rite Aid is now.
We know that from Florida, but
Yeah,
I
it was
didn't
a
know
Florida
it was called
chain.
Eckerd then. Here.
Yeah.
Wait, that's
It was
so
like
funny.
Eckerd in Publix.
We know that from Florida, but I didn't know that. So we're from North Jersey. I didn't know that the Rite Aids, or like before Rite Aid, was Eckerd here too. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so you worked like what, register?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
like
was
retail.
High school or maybe like I don't know the time frame, but that was like my first paying job.
But I love that because it teaches you. I mean, we talk about this with new grads specifically all the time, but in general, like being a waitress or working in retail, like you can't teach those skills. Like you literally have to just do them in order to understand customer service, balancing like the day, all of the things. Okay, so your first job was in retail, but a different type of retail.
Yeah.
And then what about right out of school? What was your first job when you started working in fashion?
I started working for Vince Camuto.
Yep.
They own the license for Jessica Simpson, and I was her creative assistant
Oh, funny.
For Jessica?
for the creative director
Got it.
of her fashion brand.
They were a client of ours for
Was
a
that
minute.
J3 at the time? It was Vince Camuto proper, but in the
Yes.
New York City office, not Connecticut.
New York City.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's.
I
Connecticut
travel
office.
to Greenwich often for their sample sales for their shoes. But
Wonderful. Okay, so we actually supported a lot of the same types of businesses for a long time because
Jessica Simpson, whoever was doing their shoes for a while, side note, they were comfortable
yeah, comfortable
And very tall.
and
and
cute.
very stiletto.
Yes, very
yeah,
stiletto.
very affordable.
Yep.
And that's actually a really interesting point, just to sidebar for a second, because a lot of our listeners are thinking about this. You know, most people, in my opinion, obviously, would have heard of Jessica Simpson footwear, right?
Right.
So when you're getting out of college, you're a graduate of Marist. How did you get that job, by the way? Was it through your Marist
It
connections? Do
might
you
have
remember?
been it might have been through
A recruiter?
another internship
Okay.
I had prior to that.
So the reason I say that is like we're not like leaving college dreaming of working for, you know, that's not necessarily on your list of dream jobs necessarily, but you didn't, because working in shoes, but you didn't know that a brand out there was called Vince Camuto, who actually owned the license for Jessica Simpson footwear, which you had heard of.
Yeah.
So what I would always educate our candidates back in the day to be like, all right, walk into Bloomingdale's, walk into Macy's, walk into wherever you buy a shoe, and pick up each shoe and tell me who makes it.
Yeah.
And then you look them up, and it's actually not the brand that makes it. There's
Right.
private label, which is you went to a fashion school, but anybody right out of school that didn't go to fashion school,
They don't even know those
they
things.
don't even know that private label is a thing, and that there's all these companies out there that they could be applying to that make things that they've heard of. Anyway, that's just a sidebar. Okay, so you start in fashion, and take us a little bit on your journey of your aha moment and when
Well,
you switched.
the aha moment came much later.
Yeah.
Probably a decade after.
So did you work in fashion that whole time?
I literally lasted in a year and a half.
Okay.
Okay.
What did you do a year and a half in? Is that when you decided to
So-
go to become a teacher?
Yes. So I was there in
Which
the
I
city
almost did as well.
Same.
hustling. I was like, I love the creative aspect of this. I thought it was pretty good at it. But my boss at the time, like I just wasn't being as, I feel like I don't want to speak on behalf of the whole fashion industry,
Of course not.
but it's a little rough.
Yep.
I felt like I was a little bit back in high school. Toxic energy. And there was just no mentorship. And like you were saying before, I didn't expect there to be this like immense amount of glamour to it. I mean, I was sweating, trekking through the city with giant trunks. Like, like you know.
I actually think, and I can say this with love about fashion, the way the business has changed, like direct to consumer and all that stuff, it's evolved so much. I can also say, you know, it's an industry that a lot of the firms are 3 days a week or 4 days a week. That blows my mind. They came so far, right? However, culture, day-to-day expectation and what needs to get done in order to produce product will never change. Sorry, I don't care what generation you are.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, people that can do that job are a certain kind.
Yeah.
Right. And I think was looking down the
We're on
line.
LinkedIn today. Hey to everyone.
Sorry.
Hey guys. Talking about you.
Yeah.
I just think down the line, I was thinking of like, also I'm just such a beach person.
Yeah.
As much as I love New York City, like I wasn't going to be like my dad and do the commute.
Yep.
That's too draining for me. And I wasn't going to like raise a family there. Like I just didn't see it. So
Twins.
I pivoted and I was like, I want to be more fulfilled and I'm creative and maybe I'll just do teaching. So I applied to Monmouth. I got into their master's program and I just did it. And I want to say there was a lot of thought behind it, but I'm very like intuition based and it just like felt right. Like I didn't really think too much about it, and now looking back and thinking about where I am, it makes total sense. But at the time it was kind of just like, I don't know, like going for it and not.
You're like, I can have the summer off and go to the beach. This is a good choice.
I also reconnected with my high school sweetheart, and I knew we were going to get married, and he is not a New York City guy. He was never going to move to New York City. He's from Atlantic Highlands. Like, he just wanted to stay. I mean, he's literally in this building right now. He works at Bellworks. Like, I just didn't see it. Even though I was leaving all my friends there from Marist, like, that was my community, but I was just stressed to the max, and I was like, I don't know if I even like
Literally
where I am right now.
90% of the people that we help, right? It's like, right.
I should have met you then.
Yeah, we should have. But
I'm sorry
you were meant to do what you did, and I think so many of us had that same, you know, for lack of a better way, like wake up aha moment and think about maybe going back to school to become a teacher. I did it. I thought about it. I almost became a teacher. I've taught over the years in different ways, but I never became a teacher.
Yeah.
And now what's interesting is my dream job, when somebody says, like, what did you want to be when you grew up? Mine was a dance teacher or a dancer.
Okay.
So, like, to be able to teach in the ways that I teach now, by mentoring others, the podcast, things like this is still, when you think about what teaching is, it's communicating a message to a captive listener.
Yeah.
So here I am instead.
There you go.
So do you want to correlate fashion designer to this? Because I think it's a pretty easy correlation.
So I think, the tapestry is.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I think that she noticed her sensitive side, and a sensitive person, a softer skilled, I shouldn't say softer skilled, but a sensitive person is going to struggle in that industry. They just are.
Yes.
And there are many of us, myself included, that absolutely loved my experience in fashion.
Yeah.
And when I look back on it, it's one of the reasons why I was able to grow up. Because there's one thing about being sensitive. I am proud of it. It's one of my best skills. At the time, I did not know how to be sensitive and also be professional.
Okay.
Also, we weren't taught how to do that in my generation.
Right.
We didn't have these.
Right.
So in my generation, it was like, you don't cry at work, get it together.
The emotional intelligence wasn't necessarily instilled.
The patience for having feelings. Now, granted, I think that there's probably a happy balance between some of the, and I say this with love, some of the way we were raised, and I say me because I'm a generation older than you, and then also, you know, now giving too far of a gentle lead for getting into the workforce. But I survived it for 7 or 8 years, and my resume looked like someone threw up on it. And I finally started my own staffing firm as under an umbrella of my father's business, which he had no interest in having us, and I went anyway, right?
Okay.
And I was helping people like you. So there were several of the Deannas at the time that I put into the Vince Camutos, and, they managed for a few years, and then sure enough,
Right.
like Phoenix and the Rising, they become teachers. And that's okay,
Yeah.
because there's enough people that want to work in fashion that can handle it if
Right.
the rest of us we're too soft.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be using our skills
But
otherwise.
I think it was also for me like the fulfillment aspect.
Yes.
Like I was looking for, and there's nothing wrong with having a career in fashion, and that's fulfilling enough for you, or it.
Of course, there's
serves
nothing wrong with
in
you.
a way.
But at the end of the day, it's
But
a sweater.
for me, that's
Yes.
exactly it. Like I am staying up to 2:00 in the morning answering emails. I am traveling to LA on the weekends for not that much money.
Nope.
Let me mind you.
Not
Yeah.
that much
And-
money, like actually
Like honestly,
no
like
money.
a teacher salary.
Yep.
I'm trying to live in New York City.
You have to look a certain way.
And well, that part I loved.
Yeah.
That was like the part. That was
That
like
was the
great
only part.
But it wasn't like feeding my soul.
I had the same issue, and that's why I ended up becoming a recruiter, because when I was in PR, my last major client that I was working on was Secret Deodorant. And shout out to Secret, which was a huge blessing in my life because I absolutely loved working on it. However, I remember I had this moment where I'm sitting at my desk and I'm not arguing, but chatting, arguing with my client, who at the time your client is an editor of now they're influencers, but an editor at a magazine. And we're having this conversation about how she's, you missed the deadline for the gym issue, and now we're not going to be able, this was probably in the winter or the spring, and she was like, we're not going to be able to put Secret in again until the summer, about it, talking about sweat. I'm like, I don't know about you, but I sweat all year long and wear deodorant every day. So I don't know why you can't just write about Secret now. And I remember it was like, well, the deadlines and the this and that. I'm like, the fact that I am fighting with someone about putting deodorant
Like the minutia.
into their issue, I was like, this is not what I'm meant to be doing. It's just,
Right, it's not-
I loved the negotiating piece and I loved the client service part, and there was a lot about that job that I did love, don't get me wrong, but when I went to my HR person, which I tell this story all the time, and she said to me, what is it that you actually love about what you do? None of my answers were my job. They were like the internship program and the bulletin board and the newsletter, and she's like, that's HR and internal communications. And I'm like, oh, so that's what I'm supposed to be doing.
But I do think there's something to be said for experiencing things that are uncomfortable for a little while
Agree.
so that you can become wise
And comfortable.
and
But also,
comfortable
isn't that
to
how you figure it out?
Yes. It's no different than it's like,
Dating.
real
It's
hard
going on
knocks of
dating.
life allow you
Not
to
all of
have
us
wisdom.
are with our high school sweethearts. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Well,
You gotta kiss some frogs. You gotta kiss some frogs. Okay, so that said, tell us more about the Mindset Tapestry. So you taught for how long?
All right, so I taught for about 8 years.
Okay, and what age specifically did you have?
I actually the whole time taught third grade special education.
Amazing.
Oh, I love
that. It's a
third
good
grade.
age. I have a second grader,
Literally
so
the best.
It's such a
grade
good
ever.
such a
grade.
good age. Second grade is, I would say that second into third has been my favorite age of both my boys. This is when they're responsible but still sweet.
They're self-sufficient,
Yep.
but they still want to please you and they're not rebellious yet.
Agree.
I run a program every year for third graders, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
That particular age is just, you just want to get in there and keep all
But
of
you
it
can
safe.
joke around
Yes.
with
Yes,
them.
Yeah, I
they
love
have
that age.
humor.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
They're incredible.
So I was a camp counselor for many years, and now I work at my kids' sleepaway camp in the summers. And so my age is fourth going into fifth, so it's a little bit older. But when I was a counselor, I always used to say third was my favorite. So I'd say that sweet spot of 8 to 10 is such a good age because they're not tweeny yet. They can tie their shoe. They can do the things. Well, my almost
You're not
8-year-old
blowing
is
their
not
nose.
amazing at tying shoes because nowadays everything's Velcro or slip on. But anyway, okay, so you're third grade teacher, special education, which
Yeah.
obviously takes a ton of patience, a ton of other skills that you probably honed in school at Monmouth. So walk us through what led you here.
So the way it kind of came to be was I was teaching. I thought I was going to possibly one day end up with my pension at 65
Yep.
years old.
Yep.
I don't know. I couldn't really conceive of that, but I was like, I guess this is what I'm doing. And COVID happened.
Yep. COVID happened. That is literally the sentence that, like,
Yeah.
we say about our business, but, like, every single
then
guest
COVID
is
happened.
like, and then COVID happened.
And things changed. Like, the whole landscape changed. And I actually had both of my pregnancies through that. And so
That's fun.
I was changing tremendously.
So how old are your kids?
3.5 and 1.5.
Do you have boys or girls?
2 boys.
I can see that, right?
Yeah.
Boy,
Yeah.
boy, mom, same. I'm wearing my
And-
boy, mom bracelet.
Oh, it's cute. Yeah, so what happened was I was teaching, taught through COVID, and I'm like, oh my God, the mental, like the state that these children are in. And like I taught in a district where there wasn't a lot of home support. So these poor children.
Where did you teach?
In Jackson. Their parents, you know, were struggling to, just like we all were, but like a lot of them were kind of living through traumatic experiences, and then now this happens. And it's like, I don't know, I'm a very empathetic person, but I felt like I was really affected by this. I think now too, because I'm a new mom.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like, oh my God, if my child was in this classroom, like it was just so scary to me. And so then I actually got pregnant again. And, you know, I don't think we were wearing masks at this time, but I was teaching, and we still had some like everyone was still just like, it was the fallout of COVID. Like no one was okay yet. We're still
I'm not sure if anyone's okay
we're still
still.
not okay.
By the way, we're still not, but it was like we were just like trying to like pick ourselves up, and things were going back into place. And I got COVID at 7 months pregnant.
Oh, no.
And it was really bad. And it kind of turned into a myriad of other health issues. I got gestational diabetes right after. I think COVID spiked that. And my son had a heart arrhythmia in utero. And I just could not handle life. Like, I'm huge. I'm teaching in front of 25 kids. They're so anxious. They're so depressed. Now I'm in that state. Like, I just felt like, what's going to happen to my son? And I'm an overthinker, so I'm like, just snowballing. It's not good.
Yeah.
And I definitely, looking back, had like early onset postpartum that I didn't realize at the time, but I had to take a medical leave. I had to take my maternity leave earlier. It was just not okay.
Yeah.
And so everything wound up resolving itself, had a wonderful birth, everything, and then postpartum depression hit. And I was just in the lowest low. Like, I didn't know you could feel that horrible. Like, I remember, like, I'm actually triggered by talking about it. I remember my son doing, like, his first soccer lessons. And I told my husband, like,
You're talking into empath, so now I'm going to start crying.
I'm crying too.
I told
'Cause we get it.
told him I can't go. Like, I physically can't get out of bed. Like, I just want to, like, I was in a black hole. And at nights, I would sometimes drive to the beach and just curl up in a ball in my car and just cry.
But the ocean is healing, so
And
I'm
I
glad
would
you drove to
take
the
my
beach.
location off my phone so no one could track me. And it was just unbelievable. I had to extend my maternity leave. I couldn't go back to work. And I feel like I missed like the first 6 months of my second child's life. Then I started to seek help. I started to work out a lot. I considered going on medication. I was going to therapy. And slowly but surely, I started to pull myself out of it. And one of the ways I did that was when I did go back to work, I was driving to work and I was saying positive affirmations to myself. Deanna, you are brave. You are an amazing teacher. You're going to go into that school and the kids are going to be happy to see you and you're going to make a difference. And I know you miss your son, but you're going to see him afterward. You're going to do this after dinner. Like, I was just talking to myself.
Yeah.
And at red lights, I'd pull down the mirror and I would look at myself, and that was so powerful. And like, in those moments, I was like, holy shit, like this, sorry if I don't know if I'm allowed to curse. I'm like, this is working. Like, I am actually I'm transforming my brain. Like, I have never been at such a low point, and I'm day by day taking myself out of that. what if I can do this for kids? What if I can give my kids a tool that they can use when life hits hard and they can pull themselves out of it because they have a toolbox? Like, I didn't have that. I never experienced any kind of real pain like that. And so I was doing the advent calendar with my son, and it clicked. And I was like, kids are obsessed with, like, they need to be engaged to learn, first of all. Children you can't just talk to them. You can't say, look in the mirror and say, tell yourself you're brave. Say, I am brave. No, they need to be involved. They need to pull something. They need to stick something. They need to see themselves. Like, they need that tactile sensory element to the learning experience. And looking in the mirror, the kids love looking in the mirror.
Yeah, they do.
They love it.
They do.
It's so cute. And I was like, started looking online. I'm like, does this exist? And it didn't. Like, I saw positive affirmation cards, but I don't know about your kids. My kids would throw them across the room.
Yeah, especially the boys. Yeah.
It's a component of my product, but the cards are really for the parent. The cards really aren't even meant for the kids to touch. Show them the visual, but the back gives education to parents, because that's like something I learned as a teacher too. Parents in this generation especially want to be really intentional in how they raise their kids. They want a foundation of mental health for them, but we're so busy. Both mom and dad work today. Where do you fit that in, and how do you do it and make it digestible for them? And that's what this product does. So
Who drew all these?
I did.
I love it.
Thank you. I mean, I'm no artist, but they're supposed to be kiddish.
But little Deanna's in here.
Let me see.
Totally,
So
that's
much.
fashion designer
Yes.
Deanna. Yes.
I'm gonna open
Check it
up.
out. No, yeah,
This
do.
is so great. I love this so much.
Thank you.
I knew from the moment we spoke to you the first time that this would be such a perfect conversation.
I'm sorry you went through all that.
Me too. Me
But
too.
you know, like, turn your pain into purpose, and
1,000%.
what
I
I'm
mean,
trying
that's
to
what
do.
wisdom is. I mean, I had gestational the first time also.
Rough,
Not great.
so rough.
And then I think, looking back on it, I think I had postpartum just undiagnosed, but I had all sorts of issues with both my girls. And, you know, I will tell you, you will be able, you said 3.5? You will be able to tell that story without the leaking in a couple more years. But you will never, it will never leave you.
No, it's who I am now. It's in my DNA for sure.
Oh, my
All right, so
second
you
kid
had
almost
this-
killed me, and I love her the most.
Yeah.
I mean, I love them both the most.
Yeah,
But like,
yeah.
you know, I mean,
your baby.
pregnancy is also not for the faint of heart. For some, it's
No.
easy.
I don't think
Not
we
for
get,
me.
I don't think we get enough credit.
No, I
Quite frankly.
agree.
Agree.
It's trauma to your body, to your hormones, to your mental, like
Some
everything.
people tolerate all of it.
And you know what? Just go back to work after.
Yeah, you're fine.
Just go back to
You're
work.
good.
You're
Put
good.
on real pants and
Yeah.
go back to work.
Totally.
Real
Hard
pants.
pants.
8 weeks later, or
Totally.
whatever it is for
It's
some
cruel.
companies. It's
It's
cruel.
absolutely-
And
Really cool.
you'll feel fine.
You'll be fine.
Well, it doesn't matter if you feel fine. Just
No.
get over
Just
it.
go, and you'll leak, and you have to just deal.
It's ridiculous.
Leaking is like the least of it.
Yeah, it's horrendous. Okay, so and not enough people talk about that. So thank
No.
you for sharing your story. Okay, so you have this click moment, which, by the way, you know, we're fully Jewish. Both my husband and I, we raise our kids celebrating Hanukkah, obsessed with Advent calendars. Okay, so and obsessed with like countdowns and touching things. And so actually, shout out to Rustic Eve. Our friend Eva started a company called Rustic Eve where she makes like the wooden handmade cute
Yeah.
signs. She has this sign called the Countdown to Hanukkah.
Love it.
And it's like we just count down every day and we write it with a dry erase marker. And it broke this week. And she was kind enough to give us a new one and lives right in Fairhaven. So she's like, my kids were like tears because their countdown was broken. So the concept of counting down and touching and
And I
tactile
love a routine.
is so it resonates like I can't explain. Like
need
the
a routine.
meltdown over the broken Countdown to Hanukkah sign the other night was like as if I took away his iPad for a week.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, we're gonna get another one, and he's gonna be 8, so this isn't even a toddler meltdown. That being said, we also have the Advent calendars. So granted, my kids fully understand that they're counting down to something that they don't celebrate, but they love opening the little thing and taking it out. And so my husband just got it 5 Below, like the Reese's and Hershey ones. So they're just like eating candy every day. But they absolutely love it. So
Oh, I just remembered I didn't give my dog hers last
yeah.
night.
Okay.
I'm doing one from Trader Joe's for Gypsy.
yes, and they have from Trader Joe's, which are so cute. Okay, so you're looking at the Advent calendar. You know that you want to do something for these kids. How did you actually do this? Like, how did you conceptualize it, create it, produce it. Tell us a little bit about
Here
it.
comes the fashion background.
Yes, because we love this piece because it shows to our listener you can have this great idea and then you have to figure out how the fuck to do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So speaking of cursing.
Because this is beautiful.
Yes.
Like, you didn't mess around.
Yes.
Like, the packaging is beautiful. The box is well done.
Yep.
This is all sewn beautifully. This is a gorgeous product.
You. Well, the aesthetic actually meant a lot to me.
Yep.
I have an all-white house, which was a huge mistake with kids and a dog. But I wanted it to be something that, like, someone can hang in their kids' room, sure. But if it makes more sense in their kitchen, it's not going to be this loud, primary colored thing that they're not going to want in their home.
To have around. Yep.
So that was important to me.
Yep.
I also just, in being like a parent consumer, like, I just care the way like their things look.
Yeah.
Their toys. Like, I don't know. I hate plastic. Like, I just needed it to be cute.
Yes.
But the way I did it is a great question. I don't really know how I did this because I'm like, how did I figure this out? I don't know. I don't know anyone who's ever made anything. I don't know
how did
any
you source? I mean, you have
like,
Velcro on here. These are safe. Like, these are like,
Yeah.
I can tell that they're
So
safe.
the step of it was, like I said, I had COVID. I was isolated for 7 days in my room. I ordered everything from Amazon, like a glue gun, and did the whole, like, talking about,
You made
like,
your sample.
My prototype, my first ever prototype. It's terrible. It's still in my room. But
We
if
should
that's
frame it.
like
We can frame it.
7-year-old Deanna, like, hot gluing, like, bags together, like, that's what I did. And I was like, oh, now I have my visual. I'm a very visual person.
We take it out again, Mars.
From there, I kind of just sat on it for months, being like, oh, I can't really do this.
This is so
I'm
cute.
just a teacher. I don't have the money to do this.
Well, that was the
This
depressant.
is like,
So
yeah,
cute.
that was that.
Yeah.
So here's the mirror.
And, you know, it is hard. Like, I had to, like, kind of talk myself into it, like, gain that confidence. Like,
It's so cute.
it's not going to be an easy journey, like, but do I want it bad enough? And I do. And the mission behind this company is what drives me. I really believe that the next generation of children have it cut out for them. What is society going to be like? What is our earth going to be like?
Oh, God.
They are going to be responsible for that. How we raise them is so important. Think about, like, everything going on right now, like AI. It's scary. But if they don't have emotional intelligence and they can't treat each other like human beings and treat themselves like human beings, how are they going to navigate this? So that's the mission behind the Mindset Tapestry, like mental health and just getting back to, like, the bare bones of, like, humanity. Like, I think it's also just a response to, like, how millennials were raised, how we all were raised. We all parent in response to how we were parented. And I had amazing parents. But, like, in a way, society always also raises you. Like, I think of what I saw when I was, like, this formative 8-year-old watching Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera half naked on the TV. Like, what is that teaching? Like, what did that teach me? Like, that affected me so much
You
more.
must listen to Brittany's memoir. Just continue.
Yeah, like, she was a child
It
herself.
will
and
blow your mind.
She was a child
I still can't
herself.
recover, and I finished it like 3 weeks ago.
And
It'll blow
we
your
just
mind.
watched that and we, like, normalized that.
Yeah.
We are much, I think the generation of parents today are much more intentional in how we're raising our children.
Yeah.
We're much more conscious. We almost overthink everything. From what we put in their mouths to how we talk to them. But I think that's really important. Like, you have to be mindful in the way you're raising the next generation.
100% agree. Okay, so I love this so much. So how did you go from this prototype to creating this beautiful product?
So then I was like, I'm going to get this made. And I first was on, like, reaching out to people on, I didn't know where to go. Reaching out to people on Etsy that were making, like, advent calendars. I looked at the back of the tag on my advent calendar. I still talk to that woman.
Network the most when you need
Just
the least.
on
That's what we always say.
LinkedIn, reaching
your-
out to people.
Yeah,
I
maybe
actually,
even former contacts at one point or another probably landed in somewhere that could have helped you. But, you know, that's what we probably would have advised you had we known you then. Like, see if there's somebody that worked at Vince Camuto that, like, knows how to produce something.
the original product wasn't even going to be soft goods. Like, silly me was, like, trying to make it in silicone.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. That was a terrible idea. But someone I wound up talking to was actually like, you do not want to do that.
Yeah.
My products made in silicone is way too expensive. I was like, that's right. Okay. Back to square one.
Yep.
And so I hired a designer. He kind of took my prototype and my vision.
Where'd you find him? LinkedIn?
Upwork.
Oh, okay.
Upwork.
Upwork is
He's
a
in
great place.
Oregon, I believe, or Washington. He was really amazing. And then I was like, now I got to find a manufacturer. And it took me almost like 7 months maybe. I was on Alibaba trying to like find people, trying to like communicate. They don't don't speak their language. They don't speak mine. It was scaring the hell out of me because I'm like, how am I going to take this huge risk with this much investment and not have any kind of trusting relationship? Like, terrified. But the designer I used wound up referring me to some manufacturer that he had worked with in the past, and I ordered a few samples, and I was like, this is actually really nice, and kept doing it until it was perfect. And then I was like, you know what, I'm hitting go, and I'm resigning from teaching, and this is what I'm doing. Because
And how long ago was that?
Like yesterday. Literally yesterday.
Yeah.
I didn't go back in September.
Yeah, so it was pretty recent. So then, and what about the packaging? How'd you do that?
One of my best friends is in branding. He's had his whole career there. He's like a branding genius, and he hooked me up with someone who he had worked with.
So you used your network, as we always tell people to do.
I
So
have really smart friends.
Yeah,
They're
smart
all smarter
friends. Yeah.
than me,
Yeah.
and I'm really lucky to be around them. And yeah.
You tapped into who you know.
I think you did. I mean, just having looked at product and samples, I think you did a beautiful job.
Thank you
Really
so
beautiful.
much.
So tell us the plan. What is your launch plan, and how are you going to distribute, and what's your goal? What's your dream as far as getting this into the right hands?
Well, I think everyone's dream when they start a company or a brand is definitely D2C, because that's how you're going to make the most profit. But like, what that requires is like an insane social presence.
Yeah.
We know that.
And I just got my inventory delivered yesterday.
Here
But I have been
in your garage.
in my garage.
Yeah.
Yep.
I have been working on some pretty legitimate giftings that I'm hoping, because I don't have the budget to hire some big PR firm in the city and like pay them on a retainer. Not in the cards for me right now. So I am working on some pretty legitimate giftings for celebrities and people who have actually given me their addresses, because I think they just see this product and like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping,
Somebody posts
word
it.
spreads like that.
Did you? Hey, here comes the Dreamcatchers at work. Here we go. Did you happen to stop by the table the other day at the boutique?
Which one?
Of the woman who was running this beautiful little gift shop that has beautiful toys.
The toys.
She was on the window side of the room, called Goldie Gifted.
Toys.
So her business is actually called Goldie Gifted because she comes from fashion PR and talent, and she started her own side hustle of gifting, like you're saying, to appropriate people, and then started curating
Jenny,
like baskets.
Jenny,
like Mama's Made.
we're going to tag Jenny, and we will introduce the two of you,
Yes.
because that's what we do.
Amazing.
Because she should be taking a look at what you're doing.
Okay, awesome.
Because if she could get it into the right hands, similar to what Shannon, who I know you just met,
Yeah.
shout out to Shannon at Mammoth Made Baskets, same concept, but to like talent and
Right,
trying
that's
to gift
awesome.
to the right people. And also just curating gift boxes for people locally, similar to Mammoth Made, but not all Mammoth Made
Yeah.
goods, the
So
way Shannon
the thing
does.
with direct to consumer, and I always think about this from a small product standpoint, like you need one big hit, right? You get one big hit, then you're fulfilling all those orders.
Hopefully.
Or you're fulfilling local orders and becoming a local
Local-lebrity, as
a
we
local
call them.
celebrity, which is not a bad thing.
Whereas Marissa and I have decided to lean into, and quite frankly, right around when we decided to over the last couple of years, you'd be surprised how that ends up fulfilling you. Like somebody like Deanna reaches out to you blindly because she's heard of you and wants to be on your podcast. And we're like, wait, what? Like, you know who we are? And that's like awesome in and of itself
Yeah,
to
yeah.
like be known for what you do and what you're good at.
But we
locally.
have so many cute little specialty stores around here.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, so many. I'm in Little Waves.
Little Wiz is
wonderful.
adorable.
Yes.
And going to be in Distinctive Toys.
Awesome.
Terrific.
Learning Express.
Yep,
Secret.
same kind
And
of
that
vibes,
for you
yep.
is marketing because, by the way, that's hard because you're direct to consumer. And these are the places where you're going to bring your retail math in, which I know for you and me was the worst of our skills. But when you're selling, they have to have that margin.
Well, that's the thing.
And you're going to be you're basically you're eating into profit so that you can have the exposure.
Exactly.
And that's the piece of the business now that although this is special and although it's emotional, for it to be
Eating
successful.
into the profit so you can have the exposure. Hashtag podcasting. That's why we do what we do.
That's
Yeah.
everything you do now is how you present yourself, right? So you'll see what sticks.
What about going back into the schools? Have you thought about doing
Yeah, I
that?
was thinking that too.
So-
Like selling to
Yes.
the schools or the PTAs, things like that.
I have thought about going into schools. I mean, I would love to see this in schools.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
The
just-
price is probably too high for like a Scholastic. How much is this going to retail for?
60.
Yeah.
Responsive classroom is huge. I mean, that's the part of teaching that I loved. Like, I was a special education teacher, so I loved teaching social emotional skills. Like, that was what honestly I felt like the kids needed the most. And you really, quite frankly, you can't learn math and like English until you have those skills.
So
Yeah.
my thinking of sales, like as you start to think about your sales, I love the idea of going the old-fashioned way, to me, the parent.
Yeah.
But I almost feel like going to administration or special education conferences and
It's
or
also very Montessori. My
yes, or
definitely
Montessori
is.
and
It's
having a
so
pipeline of
Montessori.
those
Yeah.
places. Like, for instance, if you're a salesperson and you sold, these are things you're going to learn about if you don't know about them as a parent, and I don't know if you'll remember them from school. But like the iReadies of the world, like a software program where they're doing assessments.
Yeah.
All of those salespeople,
Yeah.
sales education trainers, will have the relationships in the administration level. Where if you had
We
someone
could
like
actually
that
introduce her to
freelancing,
like an Amy Scholes. Like we know a lot of
Yes.
people that work in education, like from a curriculum standpoint.
Okay.
That if you can get in with like a curriculum person
Yep.
who like manages a lot of these schools or has relationships with schools, that's what Steph Nealis does. Like I know I could name like 4 more people. A lot of people that were teachers.
Kristen Grip too.
Yeah, in their like second chapter of teaching, instead of doing this,
Yep.
decided to go into like consulting or
Right.
curriculum development. And so if we could figure out ways, and that's what we do. I mean, we try, as Dreamcatchers, we help connect.
Right.
Now that you're an official Dreamcatcher, having been on our podcast, and now we'll be in our directory, we then are able to connect you to the
Right.
people that we know.
No, that's awesome. Thank you.
Which is really a huge part of this and why we do what we do, because we love that layer. Because getting you in front of those right audiences, whether it's a teacher or somebody in curriculum, the toy stores. Ironically, also, when Deanna reached out, it was right after New York Toy Fair, which is a big trade show in the city. For those that don't know, most industries have a trade show, Toy Fair being the one for kids and toys. And she had a booth there. And the reason I knew is, good for you, it was in her bio of her Instagram feed, and I saw it said like Toy Fair booth, blah, blah, blah. And
Another one of my friends, by the way,
Told
who
you to
is-
do that?
was like, "Why is this not in your bio?" I'm like,
It
"I don't
should
know
be
what
in your
I'm
bio.
doing."
So when I
Just tell
saw
me what to
that, and I'm
do.
so glad your friend told you to do that, and I saw that, and unfortunately it was like Monday after Toy Fair that I saw it because you reached out.
Yeah.
And my husband was at Toy Fair all weekend, and I was like, oh, because my husband works in this industry, which is another connection that we've talked about making for you. And I was like, Dave, I'm like, somebody just reached out blindly and like wants to be on my podcast. That was, I was like bragging / telling him what happened. And I'm like, wait, she was at Toy Fair this weekend. And he goes, I think I passed her booth. So
funny.
and by the way, hundreds
Oh,
of
it's
booths.
unbelievable.
So the fact that he actually said that unprompted, like he wouldn't say that if he didn't. He
Because
passed
it's
it
pretty.
and must have noticed your setup.
Because
Well, I
it's
will
pretty. When you
say-
look at this, as somebody that
Yeah, like aesthetically, he must have
that
noticed it.
I'm a spiritual person. I'm a mental wellness person. Like you're saying all my buzzwords, and I'm looking at this and I find it common.
Yeah, he probably stopped because
That
he
was
thought it was
definitely the
interesting.
goal, and I will say, like aesthetically, I did. Not to toot my own horn, but like I stood out because I'm at a toy convention.
Right.
like
so
you wanted
everything's
it to
like
look-
in the
Everything's
primaries.
very
Yeah.
loud
You
and
didn't
in your
want it,
face,
and it's not a toy, but it needs to be at Toy Fair.
It's
it was
not
smart
it's-
that you did that.
It's not a toy; it's a mental health tool. But right, it's the same.
All the buyers are there.
Yes,
all the
yes,
retailers
yes.
are there. It's important for you to be there.
And going back to the school thing, it's so important for me to be in schools eventually.
Mm-hmm.
But I also feel like there's only so much I'm like a one woman
Right.
show.
How much
Yes.
can you
So,
do?
but that's definitely in the vision. I'm
Long term.
actually, it's funny you say that. I'm talking right now. I went back to my alma mater, Monmouth University, and they're actually interested in doing a research study
Awesome.
because I really want to get this research backed. And
So that you can show like the facts.
that it works.
Yeah, that it works.
And like what's important to me is like in working with schools, like the consumer who buys this for $60, they have
Access to it.
That's access. They have privilege. They have, obviously, they can afford that. They can give that to their child. If I can get in schools, I can access children whose parents can't afford that, but I could still help them and I could still give them those tools, even though the people taking care of them can't afford a product like this.
You know, and I also will have to say, like, as I am not in academia, but I did self-publish 2 children's books.
Oh, cool.
And it is part of my
DNA. Vibe.
bio or journey where I was trying to explain work, career, and a working parent to young people that belonged to me at the time and explain why I was not at pickup.
Oh, I love that.
Because my generation was in between.
Yeah.
So I'm not a millennial.
Yeah.
I'm like that weird one that's right before millennial.
You're like, I don't know
I'm
where
like
to
at
go.
the top. I'm like that missing one that's at the top. So, you know, I was one of the first of the first generation to work and also be home.
Really new.
Before it was cool.
Right.
And
Trendy.
I was trying to explain that in a book.
Yeah.
And there aren't a lot of tools to explain hard concepts that are outside of books. So I like that this is actually a thinking activity,
Yeah.
an interactive activity,
I agree.
and not necessarily something you just put on your shelf. And I'm just trying to think, like, other than a traditional toy, like, what is a development, like, how, there aren't that many things.
No.
Right? So to teach a lesson with, like, you're actually giving a tool in a toolbox. So I love it. I think
love
it's
it.
brilliant.
Genius.
you.
Okay, so tell us, these are our fun, like, Dreamcatchery wrap-up questions that we love to ask.
I'm a
I
bright
want-
light.
I know, I love that. We lead with light. We always say that.
Those are yours, so you can take them out and look at them. It's yours.
I need them.
Yeah, we should positive self-talk.
So-
I am worthy.
So many
I am
adults are
supported.
Like, can you make
All
one
right.
for me?
So,
I am a dreamer.
what is, I'm a dreamer.
That was one of the biggest fights my husband and I ever got into.
Yep.
So talking about I am a dreamer, I also have I am a manifester, which I don't think is a real word, but I made it up. Because beside for the mental health, positive self-talk, I really think we need to teach our children early on that they can manifest whatever. Like, why are we teaching this at 30 years old?
Yeah.
Why am I just finding out about this?
Yeah.
Why am I just starting to meditate and talk to myself in a way where, like, I envision
Because
my
the
future?
generation above me thought it was weird.
By the way, that's why we called this episode of What's the Matter. Because
Powerful, though, if you teach your children this at 3 years old and they become accustomed to doing this their entire life. What they will be able to accomplish
I agree.
is insane.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that's why we called this What's the Matter, because I think the concept of positive mindset is so,
Layered.
Woo-woo, you said, I think, before,
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
now. But I think
It's my strong suit.
But
Woo-woo.
like
Love some
that's
woo-woo.
something that we talk about all the time, and we happen to be cut from that cloth. But it wasn't necessarily talked about as
No.
norm until more recently. And why is that, right? So if we can have a tool to help our children do that. So actually, that's a good lead into our next question, which I was about to say, what is your superpower? We believe that everyone has one. I could probably come up with a couple for you right now, but do you consider yourself to have a superpower when it comes to this kind of stuff? I think your superpower is, helping kids manifest their self-talk from when they're a kid. But do you
Thank you.
consider yourself to have one?
I think my superpower would probably be I have a really, really strong sense of intuition.
Yeah.
I was going to say awareness.
So, like, even to the
That's
point.
Marissa's superpower.
What horoscope are you?
Am I?
Horoscope.
Oh, are you a Scorpio?
No, I'm a Pisces.
I knew
Same.
you were a Pisces.
When's your birthday? When's your birthday?
But I feel like you're
March
cuspy.
9th.
Stop it.
What?
Me too, girl.
Shut up. Really?
March 9th.
You're March 9th?
I am. I have
Oh
the
my
chills.
God.
Yes, birthday twin.
I love it.
I had a feeling everything she was saying that she was a Pisces the
Yeah.
whole time.
I am such a
Overthinker,
Pisces.
welling up in tears, creative,
It's crazy.
And
how
well
much-
spoken.
well-spoken,
you.
passionate. Yeah, Pisces.
you.
And March 9th. I'm like
Yeah.
years above you, but March 9th.
Crazy.
Also, Biggie died on her birthday.
I know.
Um,
That's very true.
Also, it's Barbie's birthday.
has to
It's
be a
Barbie's
good
birthday. They're like Barbie was invented on March 9th. And Biggie died on her birthday.
I mean,
oh my God,
that's
that's
a
so
major
fun.
thing. Yeah.
One of my best friends that I made later in life is also March 9th, and like having birthday twins is super fun. I was gonna say, when's your birthday? And you were like, as you were speaking, I'm like, she's gonna say March 9th. I don't know why. I just like thought
That's
that.
so
What were you
funny.
saying before that, though?
Oh,
You
that
said
her. She said, "What's your sign?" Because you were saying she was saying her intuition is such her superpower.
my superpower is intuition, but I am actually a cusp.
Okay.
And I truly, truly am. Like, I actually thought
That's my
originally
son.
you were cuspy, but then I landed in my head that you were Pisces, which I'm not surprised.
Would you have guessed
Cuspy,
that we had
though.
the same birthday?
No.
So my moon is Aries. So I'm like fire and water.
Yeah. So
It's a little scary.
I don't know enough
What
about.
my moon is.
I admit that I don't know enough about that. I don't know
you
enough
have to
about
get
that. I know, and
your-
I'm.
She
I
has
get-
all the
I have it
You'll
all.
flip out once you. Like,
I have it
know.
all, and I do get involved. Like, okay, so I am a Cancer Gemini, which it's okay. We're all okay. Like, I'm okay.
Are you though?
But it's not. I'm not that okay. It's not. It's two really, really, really difficult
lot.
signs.
I am the most true Pisces in the world, I think, and so I guess so are you.
Yeah. No.
Maybe it's just our birthday.
I am a Gemini Cancer, and I say it with apologies, and I have gotten all my things read, but my biggest challenge, one of my many, 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 many challenges, is a sensitive Gemini. I mean, a sensitive Cancer with multiple personalities.
That's a lot.
I
a lot.
was pregnant with a Sag,
Yeah.
and her birthday is next week. Actually, her birthday is this weekend,
Same.
and I did not know how I was going to do it.
It's very
Yeah.
hard. Sagittarius is tough.
And I actually think that she is one of the reasons why I am stronger.
Teach
And
us a lot.
also,
They teach us
Those
everything.
kids of ours.
I realized, I didn't have this bandwidth that you do or that you're creating, but I knew that a Sag was somebody that was so, I had to figure out how to make sure she didn't tell you that she didn't like your shirt. Like, I had to,
Yeah, they have zero filter.
right? And I
kinda
have
love that,
explained, I mean, it's so great. Like,
do
also,
love
like, by the way, as a watery person, like, we tend to be passive aggressive. Like, I'm not saying be aggressive, but like, just say it like it
Shockingly,
is.
I'm not. I'm very direct.
So am I.
My
very
husband
direct.
hates how direct I am.
I mean, I love you.
I'm like, but like,
I don't
why are we?
know.
Why are we doing it? Like,
I think
why?
I'm pretty direct. I wouldn't say I'm passive aggressive. If anything, I'm either direct
Or aggressive.
Or I don't say anything at all.
Anyone else listening?
Yeah. Like if I
Yeah.
want to say something
That's
to
very
someone,
Pisces to just
I
like
would
retreat.
never. I'm direct, or I'm like with aggression, or I'm quiet and I don't say.
Yeah,
anything.
no, you're
I'm
direct with
direct.
aggression.
I'm not passive
That's me.
aggressive.
I'm
I'm not going to say like a
direct.
weird side
No.
comment like she would. You were like more.
I'm much, much better. I don't do that the way I used to because I've gotten stronger.
I'm direct if I care.
Yeah.
I say nothing if I don't care.
Same. Yeah, and there's a lot of things
Yeah.
at this point.
It's
I
very
just can't-
telling.
No,
There's a lot
as you
of
get
things I
older,
just
you
can't
care
care
less.
about.
You
All right.
care less. Okay,
So,
sorry, but that
Tell
was
us-
very funny.
Tell us what inspires you, because this obviously takes, besides of course your children and
Mm-hmm.
the kids you taught, this what you're about to encounter and what you're about to embark on.
It's gonna be hard work.
It's hard work. So, what keeps you inspired and what keeps you going, and what makes you want to continue doing this?
I
for
think
yourself.
so. Beyond my actual children is just like the legacy of like this mission.
I agree.
Like I feel
That's how we feel
actually
about our mission too. Yeah,
like I'm on a mission, and I have such a purpose. Like I think my whole life
had led you to this point.
I really have been kind of unguided and begging the universe to give me a purpose. Please give me something.
This is it.
I want to feel like I'm on the right path. I had to go through hell to get there,
As we all did.
but I asked and I asked and I asked, and I finally got it. And I feel so connected to it, like so connected to it. And I also grew up with parents that I really admire, especially like career wise. My dad,
Same.
and like just growing up as a kid, he was like, I was like, he's like some hero. Like he worked on Wall Street. He really came from nothing, and like this life that he gave us, and just how passionate he was about what he did. I just always admired that, but I didn't see myself in that because I could never be a finance person. So I was like, I guess that's not for me. But I always wanted that, and now that I have kids, I just want them to look at me one day and be like, that was really cool that mom was able to do that. Because that's how I look at him, you know?
Yeah, I agree. So your dad and just kids in general and the next generation, I agree with you. I think that's one of the major reasons we do our work, is so that we can, I hate to say it this way because it sounds so cliche, but you're changing the world. Like you're trying
also
to
tell
change
all-
your
I want to
little,
have an impact. I do.
and you're changing the little piece of the world that you can control,
Yeah.
which is exactly how we feel.
And I think all of a sudden now I'm like this business owner and I'm this salesperson. Two things I would have never thought I would be. And like I went to Toy Fair and the booths around me were like, you have so much energy. Like
It's because
you're
you
a
believe in it.
natural salesperson. I'm like, but I'm not. I hate selling people on anything. But
It's because you can believe
in
it.
the mission
Yes.
of what I'm
because you
doing.
believe
That
in it.
it's
I
like,
was always a good salesperson because I could believe in it. There are two kinds of
but I
salespeople.
can't believe in everything.
No,
My
there-
husband's in sales.
There are
He's
two kinds of
above us right
salespeople:
now.
a person that can sell ice to an Eskimo, and the person that knows that the Eskimo doesn't need ice. I was always the second.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean that it's just I'm not cut out to sell something I don't believe in.
My friends make fun of me because our first job
You're better
together,
at it than I am, though. You
Yeah.
like you were able to still. She used to be able to
Make it work.
close the deal. Where if I wasn't feeling it, I like couldn't deal with the energy of the client, or the candidate was giving me a
No,
hard
I'm
time.
out.
I'm out. Like she's like, I got to close the deal.
No, I'm like, I'm
Yeah,
out.
because she's sales driven. Because at the end of the day, it's money.
Yeah,
sales
no,
is
not
money.
for me.
So the reason why we work really well together is she tends to pick up where I leave off, and vice
Yeah.
versa. And so for me, with everything, so I feel like for me, I would always struggle with like, well, if you don't want it, I don't want to sell it to you.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I am.
I'm like, I don't know what to
That
tell you.
doesn't really help.
It doesn't.
It
I'm
doesn't
like,
really help.
Exactly how I
Like
am.
you gotta want to buy it. Like just buy the thing.
Totally, I relate to that.
Okay.
Speaking of buying things,
Yeah. So
we like to talk about. So we've talked about. I mean, this. If you want to talk about a podcast where you don't feel like you're looking at a question, this is it, right? But one of the questions that we like to ask everybody, in addition to the ones that we've covered, is, and I know you're a consumer, is there a crush, or we call it a dream crush, of something in your life that just you can't live without? Is it a brand that you can't live without?
or that you've like modeled it, like just that just
Anything.
is doing it right. That
Yeah.
you're just like really into.
super into.
Yep.
And we like to do macro and micro. So if there's something locally, because we're both, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is going out to lots of people. This conversation can matter to people that are in Wichita, Kansas,
Mm-hmm.
as much as Bayshore. Okay? So I'm saying to you, like, is there something locally that you couldn't live without, that you absolutely love? And or is there a brand that you completely crush on, that you admire and are inspired by, and that hope that the Mindset Tapestry will be as empowering as this particular brand?
Yep.
Yeah, so I would say there's two people that definitely really inspire me. I don't know if you know Lauren and Michael Bostic. They have their own podcast. I listen to their podcast. I mean, definitely every week.
And what is their
weekly.
What is their podcast called?
So he owns his own company, Dear Media. They started a podcast together called The Skinny Confidential.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Lauren, first of all, just the way they live their life, like dream couple for me. Like,
That's how I feel about Jesse and Sarah. Well, did you ever listen to when you were talking about finding the manufacturer before? Have you ever listened to how I built this?
all the time.
But
Guy Raz.
specifically, Sky Raz obsessed. But specifically the one about Spanx, Sarah Blakely.
I might not have listened
So
to
Sarah
that one.
Blakely and Jesse Itzler are like literally like that for me, like dream
Okay.
couple. He started Marquis Jet, or was it NetJets? One of the big jet companies.
Sorry, Jesse.
What? Sorry,
Sorry,
Jesse,
Jesse.
I'm not 100% sure, but your wife's more important to me. She started Spanx literally with a
Power
prototype.
couple.
Like walked into, didn't know anything
Right.
about anything. Same kind of concept, and now is like one of the most powerful women.
So you were talking about Lauren.
So that Lauren and Michael, I just love the way they live their life. They're super, like, even the way they are with their kids and their mindset. Like, I feel like they've really taught me along this journey. Like, they've really helped me get out of my postpartum. I started working out. I started eating differently. Like, I just changed everything, and I almost needed a model to follow.
Yeah.
It just made it easy because they just tell you what to do. And I was listening to them, and everything's always positive, and they're all about learning, and that's kind of something that I've become accustomed to. Like, I'm at this point in my life where, like, I love reality TV. I love the minutia. Sometimes you got to shut the brain off. But every day I should be learning something that's going to take me further, that I'm going to grow from, that I'm going to be able to apply to my life and make it better. And I think the content we sometimes consume is just noise, and it sets you back. And I think you need to be really selective about the content that you consume. That's like my biggest thing. And they've taught me that. Actually, Lauren's a big routine girl. She's all about like her morning routine. Her kids need a routine. They take their vitamins. It's always like a health routine. And I reached out to her, and I want to give her kids the Mindset Tapestry.
Oh, I love it.
And I got from her assistant their address.
Amazing.
So once my shippers come in, Lauren and Michael Bostic, Zaza and Towns are getting one.
Amazing.
Just in time for the holidays. And I cannot wait, because this girl is all about her self-care routine.
Yeah.
She's going to love this.
She's going to love it. That sounds amazing.
Right?
I love that for you.
I love that for
I
you
do too.
Okay,
Putting
so
it out in the
that's a big manifest dream crush. I love that so much. Anything locally? I mean, I know you're a little bit further south than us, but any other besides Bellworks obviously is a crush for all of us. That's why, your husband works in the building, so you probably are here more often than most people that are not from around here.
Yeah.
But anything locally? Anything else that you want to shout out?
I think I'm just like super inspired by, I've kind of been in my own teaching bubble for a long time. Now I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to bring it to the world. I'm trying to get brand awareness. I'm connecting locally with people now that I never talked to before. Like both of you.
Yeah, like us.
Paige from Jake and Ted Toys. She's similar in like she has a really strong mission for what she's building. She's in Shrewsbury. We're actually going to be at the Grove on the 17th. She does like a little pop-up. Raising Sunshine, which is another amazing woman who started like childcare classes, but like not.
I've seen that.
Yeah, like I'm so.
I can picture the little cute logo.
I'm so inspired by like the moms today that are just getting it done. Like everyone's just getting it done, and like it seems like everyone's just driven by this purpose. Like it's just amazing. Like I'm so inspired by these people, and I just want to be a part of it, and I want to be more like locally. We're so blessed. Like is everyone's like towns like this? Like what is
I don't
going
think so.
on?
I got to be honest. I don't think so.
I don't think
It's like
so.
a fountain of
I don't know.
like
I don't know. That's not
amazingness.
fair to the rest of everywhere.
I don't know.
Like I know
We-
you just met our friend Shannon right
Yes,
before
like
this.
everyone's so
and
incredible.
she's very big on connecting the women that do all this incredible stuff. In
Yeah.
fact, we were at her home a few weeks ago for a Monmouth
She
Made
told
event,
me.
and we met all of these girls that many of whom we knew already, some we did not, that are just doing amazing things. Like
And don't you feel like everyone's like purpose-led and intentional?
yes, and which is why we love interviewing these people.
They're
and
not just
talking
trying
to
to
them.
make money.
Yeah.
They're not just trying to sell you something. Like there's like love and meaning behind it. Like another shout out, my sister-in-law, she's also a teacher. She's actually a BCBA in Wall. She is so talented, and like she's a yogi. Like she's incredible. She's now offering services for families with neurodivergent children. And like, but not your typical BCBA practices, like infusing the mindfulness and the yoga practices into that, which is such a fresh take on like your typical BCBA services that like your kids are getting in schools. Like it's just, I'm so inspired by it.
I think the world, so if I can match your woo-woo, there has been
COVID
a call to action. The world has a lot of darkness in it. It always has. But it's amplified by the accessibility to the darkness that we didn't have many years ago. And there is a call to action by the universe that anyone that has light in them to channel is being called to use it.
I just got the chills.
Yes.
Like
Chills means truth.
100%. And
So,
can I also
light
call
workers.
that Sequence LLC? That's
Yeah.
my sister-in-law, Kate.
Of course.
Kate Blasi. Sorry, I need to plug
I love
that.
this. You came prepared. But we are all, Jamie and I call ourselves light workers. I am a traditional light worker, as I am a spiritual healer when I'm not
Doing this.
doing this. But anybody that has light within them somehow is being asked to fine-tune it so that we can counteract all of the things that are happening that do not emit
And
light.
I mean, with the pandemic,
Yes.
yes, it was terrible, and we're all still recovering from that.
But
But
you're
look
seeing a
what's
lot
coming
of
out it.
rising.
So
Yes.
much transformation, so much love, so much.
We will look back on
connectivity.
it. Society will look back on it. History will look back on it. No different than, what my daughter's learning right now. From like Bohemia, from what was the time when it was really dark? Middle Ages. What was the time when it was really dark? And then they
That
came out
moment.
into where they started to do art and music and whatnot.
The Renaissance.
The Renaissance. So there is something to be said.
response.
It's a response to a very trying time.
I think this has been such an amazing conversation. I knew from the moment you reached out and we had our first chat that this would be a
March 9th.
wonderful March 9th forever. I can't.
There are a lot of March 9th people.
There are.
There really are.
There are.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here today.
Thank you so
and thank
much.
you
I'm
for
so grateful.
being vulnerable and sharing your story with us. Thank you to A Shared Universe for doing our sound as always. Thank you to Mindset Tapestry, which
I
we're very
cannot
excited
wait to see you everywhere.
The success that is
you.
headed your way, and that we
Likewise.
hopefully can help you find as well through our connections and our web. And thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for being here.
And you know what? Thanks for being a helper.
Thank you so much. I really am so grateful to the two of you.
All right, everybody, have a great day.
Have a great day.